something happened and you reacted. A headline, a post, a comment on your feed, a text message left unread, a sideways facial expression, a rumor, a clip, a specific tone from across the room, a delay, a notification. One small thing touched the wrong place, and suddenly your peace was gone. Your mind started racing, your chest got tight, your attitude shifted, your focus disappeared, your discipline lost authority. And that thing that triggered you started leading you. Not because it was powerful, because it had access. That is where we begin today. Because some people think freedom means nobody can stop them. No. A person can be free on the outside and still be controlled by whatever can get a reaction out of them. And if everything can trigger you, anything can lead you. Welcome back to the Eminence Legacy podcast. I'm Jose Luis Cadena, and this is the Sovereignty series. Stop letting the world lead you. In part 1, we drew the line. We said we are not blaming the world. We are naming the pressure, refusing the excuses, owning the response, and making the move. But today, we go deeper. Because one of the easiest ways to lead a person is to keep them reacting, keep them angry, keep them afraid, keep them distracted, keep them offended, keep them scrolling, keep them emotionally busy. Because reactive people are easier to move. They don't need chains, they just need triggers. And today, we are taking that power back. The problem is not that things happened. Things will always happen. People will always say things. News will always break. Opinions will fly. Feeds will feed. Comments will comment. Life will press. Pressure will knock. Disrespect will show up. Disappointment will happen. The problem is not that life gives you something to respond to. The problem is when everything gets the right to control your state. Somebody posts something and your whole mood changes. Somebody says something and your peace gets evicted. Somebody ignores you and your identity is on trial. Somebody disagrees and now your emotions grab the steering wheel. A headline hits and now fear has your attention. A comment lands and now anger has your mouth. A notification shows up and now distraction owns the next 20 minutes. And then people say, that's just how I am. No, that might be how you've been trained, but that does not have to be how you stay. Because reaction is not always personality. Sometimes reaction is untrained authority. You never taught your emotions who is in charge. So now anything that touches them gets to lead you for the next few minutes, or the next few hours, or the next few years. And that is dangerous right there. Let me say this clean. You cannot build a sovereign life with hijacked nerve systems. You cannot build legacy if every headline can own your focus. You cannot lead your family if every comment can own your mood. You cannot lead your business if every setback can own your discipline. You cannot lead yourself if every feeling gets a vote. And you cannot keep calling it being real when the truth is, you are being led. Some of you don't need more information. You need more inner government. Because right now, everything outside of you keeps trying to pass laws inside of you. Fear says, move like this. Anger says, respond like this. Insecurity says, hide like this. Pride says, prove it like this. The feed says, think about this. The crowd says, care about this. And if you do not have authority inside, everything outside starts legislating your life. That ends here. Reaction feels powerful. That is why people love it. Anger feels strong. Outrage feels righteous. Clapping back feels like control. Posting your opinion feels like movement. Letting people know how you feel can feel like power. But sometimes, reaction is not about power. Sometimes reaction is evidence that someone found your remote control. That is the part people do not want to hear. If somebody can make you abandon your peace with one sentence, they found a button. If a feed can make you lose an hour you said you did not have, it found a button. If a headline can make you carry fear all day long, it found a button. If one person's opinion can make you question your calling, they found a button. And you can call it passion if you want to. But if they can't press it whenever they want, I hate to tell you that is not passion. That is access. And legacy builders have to become careful with access. Not everybody deserves access to your mind. Not every headline deserves access to your peace. Not every comment deserves access to your response. Not every opinion deserves access to your identity. Not every feeling deserves access to your decisions. Because whatever has access can create influence. And whatever creates influence long enough can start leading you. Let me stop right here. Some of you are addicted to reacting. Because reacting feels easier than thinking. Thinking requires patience. Thinking requires discipline. Thinking requires humanity. Thinking requires to slow down long enough to ask, is this true? Is this useful? Is this mine to carry? Is this worthy of my attention? Is this leading me towards who I'm called to become? Or just pulling me into noise? Because reaction does not ask questions. Reaction moves. It speaks. It posts. It assumes. It attacks. It hides. It buys. It squirrels. It eats. It quits. It explodes. It withdraws. And then later, when the emotion cools down, you have to deal with what reaction built while wisdom was silent. That is why this matters. Some of you are living in consequences created by moments where you reacted faster than you thought. See, we live in a world that rewards speed. Respond speed. Response fast. Post fast. Judge fast. React fast. Decide fast. Choose a side fast. Have an opinion fast. Be first, be loud, be seen. But here's the thing, speed is not always strength. Sometimes speed is immaturity with good Wi-Fi. Sometimes speed is insecurity trying to stay relevant. Sometimes speed is fear trying to control the room before wisdom enters it. And that is why you have to slow down. Not because you are weak, because you are responsible. A sovereign person does not let pressure rush their judgment. A sovereign person does not let the crowd assign their opinion. A sovereign person does not let outrage replace understanding. A sovereign person does not let emotions become law. They pause, they breathe, they test, they think, they pray, they ask. What is actually happening here? What is being asked of me? What is being triggering me? What response honors who I am becoming? That pause may not look powerful to everyone else, but that pause is authority, because the person who can pause is a person that can choose. And the person who can choose cannot be led as easily. So let's make it personal. What keeps triggering you? Not just annoying you. I'm talking about triggering you. What keeps pulling you out of your character? What keeps stealing your focus? What keeps changing your mood? What keeps making you respond in a way you later regret? What keeps getting access to your peace without earning it? Is it a certain person, a certain app, a certain topic, a certain insecurity, a certain fear, a certain comparison, a certain memory, a certain kind of disrespect, a certain kind of silence, a certain kind of rejection? Because triggers are not just random explosions. They are signals. They show you where something still has access. They show you where healing may be needed. They show you where discipline may be weak. They show you where pride may be sensitive. They show you where fear may be driving. They show you where your identity may still be negotiable. And if you do not study what triggers you, you will keep being led by what you refuse to understand. That is the mirror. Let's get something straight. Being informed is not the same as being awake. See, some people are full of updates, but completely empty of wisdom. They know what happened everywhere, but they do not know what is happening inside of themselves. They know the latest story, the latest drama, the latest opinion, the latest crisis, the latest arguments. But if you ask them, they cannot tell you what their own spirit has been trying to say for the last 6 months. That is not awareness, that is overload. There's a difference between being informed and being invaded. There is a difference between paying attention and being possessed by noise. There's a difference between caring about what is happening and letting everything that's happening become your emotional government. And if you do not learn that difference, you will confuse constant exposure with wisdom. You will confuse being updated with being grounded. You will confuse reaction with discernment. And slowly, your mind becomes a room where every voice gets a seat except truth. That cannot be normal. not if you are building legacy. Here's the heartline. If everything can trigger you, that means anything can lead you. Sit with that. Because leadership is not only about who you follow publicly. Leadership is also about what controls you privately. What controls your mood? Leads you. What controls your focus? Leads you. What controls your decision? Leads you. What controls your appetite? Leads you. What controls your words? Leads you. What controls your peace? Leads you. And if everything gets access, that means everything gets influence. That is why some people feel scattered. They're not living from conviction. They're living from interruption. They're not thinking. They're reacting. They're not choosing. They're being pulled. They are not led by purpose. They are led by whatever touched the wound last. That is not sovereignty. That is being an emotional hostage to a piece of glass in your pocket. See, scripture says to be slow to speak, slow to anger, quick to hear. There's wisdom in that order because anger moves fast, fear moves fast, pride moves fast, insecurity moves fast. But wisdom often enters through the pause, through those silent moments. And some of you keep asking for wisdom, but you keep moving too fast to receive it. You keep asking God for direction while reacting to everything that touches your emotions. You keep praying for peace while giving chaos immediate access. You keep asking for clarity while refusing the quiet required to hear it. And I am not saying you ignore life. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you pretend nothing matters. What I am saying, do not let what matters control without discernment. You can care without being consumed. You can respond without being rude. You can be aware without being available to every storm. That is spiritual maturity, not numbness, not avoidance, authority. So what do? We do not become emotionless. We do not become cold. We do not become careless. We become governed. Here's the move. Number 1, build a pause between trigger and response. That pause is where leadership begins. Before you answer, pause. Before you post, pause. Before you assume, pause. Before you spend, pause. Before you quit, pause. Before you clap back, pause. Before you let fear write the story, pause. The pause does not make you weak. The pause gives you wisdom, time to speak. Number 2, ask what the trigger is trying to lead you into. See, every trigger has a direction. Is it trying to lead you into fear, anger, distraction, comparison, shame, old behavior, a lower standard, a conversation you should not have, a purchase you do not need, a spiral you have already survived. Ask the question, where is this trying to take me? Because once you can see the direction, you can choose whether to follow or not. Number 3, choose the response that honors your future. Not your ego, your future. Not your mood, your future. Not the crowd, your future. Not the wound, your future. Ask, if I respond from who I am becoming, what does this response look like? That question will save you from a lot. Because the old you reacts fast. The new you must learn to respond with authority. And every time you choose to respond that honors your future, you take another piece of your leadership back. Here's your 24-hour pressure test. For the next 24 hours, do not respond immediately to the thing that normally controls your mood. Not forever, just one day. When it hits, pause. When the notification comes, pause. When the comment lands, pause. When the fear rises, pause. When the urge shows up, pause. When the old pattern tries to take the wheel back, pause. Then ask, where is this trying to lead me? And before you move, choose the response that honors your future. That is the assignment. One day, one pause, one moment of authority, because legacy builders do not prove sovereignty by talking about control. They prove it by refusing to be controlled. Legacy builders, this is your checkpoint. What has been triggering you lately? What has been stealing your focus? What has been controlling your mood? What has been pulling you into reaction? What has been getting access to your peace without your permission? And where do you need to slow down, think deeper, and respond from authority? Not later, this week. Because a reactive life will always feel urgent, but rarely feel directed. And you were not called to be led by whatever touches your emotions last. You were called to build wisdom. Before we close, if this episode found you in a reactive place, do not just nod and disappear. If you are listening to this on a web browser or a link someone texted you, don't let this be a temporary visit. Make sure to follow us right now on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Legacy builders do not just visit the truth, they stay connected to it. And if this message made you think of someone who keeps getting pulled into reaction, send it to them. Send them this podcast. No explanation. Just send it and say, listen to this one. And Thursday, make sure to lock in with me on Midnight Questions. Core episodes wake the room up. Midnight Questions, you sit with what the noise has been covering. Different rhythm, same truth. Don't miss it. Let's lock this in. The world is training people to react, not to think. But you do not have to be led by the training. Reaction feels powerful, but it often makes you easy to control. Speed is not always strength. Being informed is not always the same as being awake. And if everything can trigger you, anything can lead you. So build the pause, study the trigger, choose a response that honors your future. That is how you stop being led by every headline, every feed, every comment, every opinion, every fear, every wound, and every storm. You are not here to be pulled. You are not here to be governed. There are things in this season we're going to keep confronting. Not to create fear, to restore authority. Because too many people are living under the leadership of noise, pressure, appetite, insecurity, comparison, and reaction. But not legacy builders. We do not deny the pressure. We do not worship the pressure. We do not blame the pressure. We learn how to lead inside it. So this week, pause before the trigger becomes your master. Think before the noise becomes your teacher. Respond before reaction writes another chapter for you. Because the world can get loud, but it does not get to lead you. This is the Eminence Legacy Podcast. I'm host Luis Cadena. And remember, together, let's rise to our eminence. Catch you in the next one.